Welcome back, everyone. It's the Aces AFL show, and geez, do we have a big show today. It's round 13 already, but we're going to start with a little bit more of a serious nature. Our man has been involved in, Tom Morris's tweet last night. So, Daisy, I don't want to put you under the pump, but I want to be serious off the top so we can just get this out the way on the Aces AFL show. I'll read out what's been reported. I'll let you comment, and then we'll dive into this big show we have for everyone. Here's what he said last night. The 4 umpires involved in the Lachie Schultz concussion debacle 3 weeks ago are considering legal action against Kane Corns, Luke Hodge and Dale Thomas for their comments made days later. What have you got to say after that?
Well, it is currently 12:50 Wednesday, the 4th of June. Time coding this is very important because as we speak right now, I haven't received any official correspondence from anyone. And the only other thing I can say is I'm clearly aware of the report that Tom put out last night, but as a result of that and the serious nature of it, I have nothing else to say and can't say anything else just now.
My major concern is you, Tommy Sheridan, who single-handedly let down the Moorabbin Football Club on the weekend. What do you have to say for that,
I thought I'd throw a little bit to Daisy to start, but now it's back on me. The heat's on me.
Back on you, mate.
I'm not doing too well, if I want to be honest with you.
Yep.
$20,000, 900. Don't forget the 900 at the end. Obviously, I'll address the Moorabbin Kangaroos
I don't want it to become a habit of this show. You know, I got up to the apology podium and did my piece to camera. Have you got something similar?
I do. Do you want me to do it now?
I want you to get it out of the road so we can get on with the show. We've got a massive show, jam-packed show. So can you please make your way up to the podium?
I'll make my way to the podium and then I'll head to the graveyard and I'll stick the Kangaroos on there. I haven't got my print out. Benny the Butler's in Europe at the moment, so we haven't had the print off of my head. So I'll put that over the top. And they'll be on the graveyard. So I'll go get this out the way and I'll be back in a second, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with a heartfelt apologies for our betting display. In the profit propeller, my leg didn't quite soar, costing the Moorabbin Kangaroos $21,000 more than I'd bargained for. I picked a player to kick 3 goals in the fray, but my team scored 21 in a generous display. 14 goal kickers shared in their fame, while my hopes for a standout turned into a game full of blame. I anticipated triumph, a feast on the field, yet disappointment arose as fortunes concealed. And late in the match, when they should have been wise, some opted for long shots, neglecting to lower their eyes. So here's my apology with sincere intent. I'll learn from this lesson and rebuild what was spent. Thank you for your understanding, your support so true. Together we'll bounce back and I'll be right by you.
Right on, Tommy. Takes a lot of guts to do that, mate. It is disappointing though, isn't it, Days?
At least that's all 3 of us if I'm going to try and sort of look at a team angle.
No, well done,
it's a long bow.
I didn't know you were so articulate with your bloody wordsmith, you are.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd go the poem route.
Oh, yeah. Ready? Hey, Chat GPT, write me an apology poem.
Write me the best that you got.
Chat GPT's not very creative.
So you're trying it?
Yeah, well, it's, got to fix the grammar a little bit.
It reeks of authenticity.
It was very authentic. I spent all night on that. And there's no grudge here, boys. There's no grudge. I've got no issue. In fact, I love the way that the Adelaide Football Club is going. So I'm it's just unlucky. It's called a bad beat.
It is.
I'm a big fan of the work. And as I said in the apology, there's a certain player that might have had one of the best through balls of all time. Just lower the eyes late. The big fog was right there. But I won't name your name. I won't name his name.
Don't hold grudges, Tommy.
Anyway, big show coming up. But again, to the Moorabbin Kangaroos,
We have to make a commitment that this cannot be a consistent theme because it's 2 weeks in a row.
This sounds weird.
Though. This is what happens.
We'd rather be 3 out of 4 than 2.
Yes,
look, it's not the worst position to be
form
in.
line's good.
Yeah, but it's now that I'm in
We're knocking on the door. We've had 30 and 2 each week in the 2s. Now we just got to take it to get our opportunity in the big time.
And with these, same game multis, I know it was 20.
I want to double dip in the same game, do
double
we?
dip, but I want, hopefully we win and it's a 40K. Maybe it's a 40K job around the corner. It just takes a couple of $3 legs, and all of a sudden. Anyway, we move on. Last week, there was talk about giving away a signed Melbourne jersey. Well, that talk hasn't stopped. So we asked for 50 comments. We didn't quite get there in YouTube, but we got a few good ones there, and I'll read out one that I really like. Cool Ridge. He was unbelievable if you go to YouTube and read out his one. But the other one that I really love was just as a reminder for Wals punishment to straighten the hair before a Dogs game, and then get Daisy to maybe interview him at the Dogs game, when you're doing your, down at the boundary there pre-game. So that could be a nice little punishment. Someone wrote that one in there as a beauty.
Straightening my hair.
Jakey Demps.
I actually used to have to get a bit of a wave in it when I was 17 to get into any nightclub that I tried. Not that I was that successful, but back in the heyday.
Oh, that's very good. And there's another one. What about Wals got to train with the lads in the full Adelaide kit and then get on dishes duties after training and have a feed with the kit on? I think that was last week. We might need to both do that, both in the fog outfit, mind you. We're going to talk about the punishment at the end of the show. But thank you to everyone that did comment on YouTube. Unfortunately, we didn't hit the number we wanted. So we're going to turn to King's birthday. I'll talk about this competition later.
Right.
But we do have a Jack Crisp signed jersey behind you, Daisy, and we've got
that one's come with me.
A signed Melbourne jersey, and it's actually no better timing. We're going to give both away. We're going to work out how you win it, and I'll announce that on social media later on. But anyway, that's I just thought I'd hit that one on the head. Let's get into it, boys. Big show. There's plenty to talk about. Let's talk about last week to start. Pies flex their muscles. They are clearly the team to beat. Would you guys agree?
Oh, they are at the minute. They're in form. Some of their stars are really performing at such a high level, and then some of their veterans continue to, defy the odds and get better. So they're sitting at the top of the ladder. They've got a big month coming up, but I think they're the ones that are front runners, and I'm loving watching their play. They've got a great style, like I said, that their stars in the competition play a great style of footy, and primetime footy, watching the Pies is something that I'm loving doing at the minute.
Finding ways to win a couple of those games early, which they did. Western Bulldogs by the 6 points on a wet MCG night. They've given them and afforded them the luxury of now being able to rest players and stick to a plan. If you're sort of chasing your backside a bit, you're slightly behind the 8 ball, you probably can't do that. And the month of footy, they went over to Fremantle, undemand, and some of that was resting with the end game in focus. I think it's really smart, obviously, but when you're winning those as well, the confidence grows. They've got the most repeatable brand, I believe, offensively and defensively. There's not a whole lot to it. It's pressure and then play pretty much is obviously not that simple inside the walls, but that's what it looks like numbers-wise. They're flying, and you just hope, and I think it is repeatable for long enough that it's not early ripe, early rotten.
Here's a random one. Sorry to cut you off, Wal, but how do they handle their transition of veterans? I'll start with you, Wal. If I read out some players, these are their players that are over 30, but they are dominating, right? So you got Pendlebury, Sidebottom, Howe, Elliott, Mitchell, Hoskin Elliott, Cox, Myercheck, Crisp, and Membry. All amazing players, but at some point the transition will come. How do you start to prepare for that?
I think it goes back to list management. There's going to be gaps in their list management they've got to highlight. Now, there's some core players here that are playing some of the best footy that they've ever played. So you can't plan you have to plan for every week. So how do you do it?
But even like your Ed Allens and your Ned Longs, these are guys who were not household names, were not probably names known by many. They've come in, been given opportunities with some of this resting. They're likely replacements just straight up, like for some of them. They're in a really fortunate position that their list is not only healthy, but it's got some depth, and the game plan of just one man up, one man out, it seems to be working.
And they've got Geordie to go to come back too. And I think we forget how good a player he can be, albeit the last probably 12 to 18 months he hasn't reached the highs of his capacity. But I still feel that they run deep. So it's not a problem today. It will be in the next probably 2 years as some of these.
Those blokes probably play on.
Yeah, they play for at minimum 2 years, and Pendlebury and Sidebottom. Like if they continue on this form, you nearly could sign them up for 2-year deals. So
Sidey had 17 and 2. He's obviously in our propeller bet last week, and it was his first game back after just a rest.
Yeah.
17 and 2 at the half.
His ball use is phenomenal.
And he's
we've always said it.
You see the one where Pendlebury gets the clearance, he handballs over the top to Sidey left foot Lipinski mark.
That was goal.
Clinical
dime.
Yeah, and had to float it over someone.
Interestingly, you would have heard Craig McKay after the game said it was one of the most mature performances from their team. Across the four quarters. So,
I'm not sure who asked him that question, but it was a good one because they were it was me. Defensively, they were outstanding. You guys didn't pick that. They were defensively outstanding. They scores from turnover, but also for Hawthorn. Not enough pressure on the footy. 38 tackles, 39 the week before. Collingwood had 40 plus more tackles, turnover points about 40 as well. So taking the game away, but then scoring the other way.
What about the inside 50s? Hawthorn had one more, 45-44. That's a low count of inside 50s. But to score 107 points, they won by 51. That's a strange stat.
18 marks inside 50 for Collingwood.
Yeah.
So there's either no pressure on the ball, you touched on with Hawthorn.
Well, I can tell you, one of them, there's a lot of pressure, but still side volume's left peg was honestly like Lionel Messi.
We keep mentioning his name, but Jamie Elliott, continuing on that form.
Yeah.
Is it 4 times 5 goals in 6 weeks?
Yep.
That hasn't happened for a long time. I'm loving watching him play. And you talked about his work rate, on a previous pod. It's holding up, isn't it?
Do you reckon Jamie Elliott's been a turkey? I've just noticed his salad's looking elite. I just sort of random one here for you, Bruce.
Just a little.
Well, I'm starting to recede a little bit. So all my mates just hit 31, 32. And I just thought, I think he's my age, but his hair is looking just delicious. And his form has gone through the roof since that mop has just slowly grown back. Have you noticed
I
it?
hadn't, no.
I've
Not a space I wander in too much.
No, you've got to admire
back.
greatness. You've got to admire greatness. Yeah, your hair's
You're
slick.
fine
Yeah, I've
too,
got
mate.
plenty of it.
Yeah, you're slick as well. But I just thought for the guys
Yours
out there
going
that are,
back, is it?
Yeah, it's starting to get a few car parks.
Okay.
But I just thought his hairs, I don't know if you ever
Whatever he's
noticed
doing,
that?
it's working.
Yeah, he's doing it. And he's really accurate and just so efficient forward of it. So we'll touch on, I've got a little Australian number later in the segment. But
If he's not in there, well, there's something wrong. I'll tell
he's
you
definitely
that.
going to be in there.
Well, I'll tell you, when we talk about what's going wrong, I want you to tell me what's going wrong at the Hawthorn Football Club, because they were touted to win the flag. I think they were number 1 on most of our rankings at the start of the year, but they've got some bad news with Sicily now sidelined, I think, for 2 weeks with abdominal pain. And obviously, Day, when he doesn't play, it's a completely different side. There's now talk about the 2 backs not working. It's funny when you win and lose, all of a sudden everyone starts to crush you. But what is the problem, and I guess what's the solution?
I think I'm going to take a positive from a negative situation. James Sicily,
on you.
but James, he's had a tough trot. It's been highlighted in the media that his output hasn't been of where the expectation is. But to get 2 weeks off, hit the reset button and get his body right, it looks like he's playing under the weather a little bit.
2 weeks into a bye as well.
Yeah, so he's going to just give him a month. He can reset and reload because he's so important to this side. And the inconsistencies that Hawthorn have showed over the past bit has not, he's not totally responsible, but he's a big part and playing a part in that downfall. But we touched on it before. It's just the defensive pressure, to allow Collingwood 18 marks inside 50, but to win the inside 50 count, it means that they're winning the ball. I think they won, the contested game okay around the footy, but just, on turnover, high turnover game, 62 turnovers on the weekend. They're just not defending any of the balls that are coming back the other way. So until they clean that up, their forward line pressure, as much as a defensive unit within that forward line, is as important as across the ground as well.
I'll tell you the positive, and it's Jack Ginnivan. He's kicked 3 goals. He's had 31 disposals in a team that's been beaten by 51 points. He has a little mojo when he plays Collingwood. And as a man a group that hits this propeller, there's something about players playing their old side. So I might just be giving you a little, alluding to something I'm going to do later on. But he finds another gear when he plays the Pies. And that 31-3, it's unbelievable.
I think you can probably extrapolate that a bit further too now, rather than just him against his old side. A lot of coaches are now going the smartest forward against the most aggressive rebound defenders. So Guinea was playing on both Dan Houston and Josh Dacos at times, and the leg rope that he was given. They were trying to get involved on offense, and rightfully so. But Guinea with that little bit of nous of probably 50, 45, 55. No, I'll roll the dice at 45% getting forward. We saw it with Brian Myers against Lockie Whitfield down at the Cattery. So if you are sort of looking at like a Bailey Dale this week, you might be thinking who is going to go to him off half back as a half forward and maybe put them in your same game multis could be a look, because that seems to be the new trend rather than a defensive half forward.
Yep. So you're saying anyone that's a damaging half back, the defense isn't of the priority, and there's a player that will be just spitting forward, knowing like a Ben Keys knows they can expose him the other way.
Yeah, and it takes a smart, disciplined player.
Yeah,
but it's certainly becoming a trend across the comp.
Like a Brad Close would be someone like that. They play a real nice role and they get forward. Yeah, well said. Well said. We need to identify them on the Aces AFL show, and more importantly to ourselves on the propeller. Well,
so I think we've got the power rankings coming. Yep. I'm really interested to see where Hawks, if they are in the top 8. But again, where to from here? You asked how do they get back on track. We've answered it. But is it going to be this week, next week? How long is it going to take for them to rediscover their best form?
What are you laughing at, Daisy?
No, just the way I've designed the propeller, the power rankings today, and just one of the criteria that you were having a good chuckle at.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm having a look at it. It's the new Gennaro Gattuso. Is that what it is?
Pretty good.
Is that what it is? I've got it on the run sheet. I don't know how. There's no abyss and teams that are cooked. It's
there is
just
Abyss, but yeah.
we've got two teams.
Who he play for?
Gennaro Gattuso. I got no idea, but it says 4 sides. So I'm guessing there's 4 sides. That I actually don't know. I don't even know what that means. But Daisy will be getting into that soon. There's a few more things we need to talk about from last week. Quickly, Crows. Are they legitimate contenders?
Yes.
Yes, of course they are.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I had a dream last night. I had a dream that Noble.
I had a dream that one day.
One day. And this is my dream. It was Gold Coast Suns host the Pies up there and get beat. And Noble's, the story was all about Noble and getting done by his old side. And then Adelaide plays the Pies in a granny and they don't do the power stance and Tex goes out as a champion. I don't know why I had that. That's literally what I had. I woke up and it's time to get up here and apologise to Moorabbin.
It's a big game this week for them, though.
I'm just saying, that's just what that – can you see that happening?
Oh, I haven't had too many dreams of that nature.
But there's always an interstate team versus the Victorian side. I feel like it's going to be them.
Okay, what do they need to prove in your eyes to get there? Or have they proved it? They just need to continue winning.
Adelaide's team defence has been enormous. So the fact that go back to gather round when we're sitting, everything's pointing to Adelaide. They've been the story of it. We go to gather round, they're there. We the propeller, they've cost us twice. It's all about them, but they're going deep. And I think the team defence and the fact they can score, they've got a real young side. It's exciting. They got these role players, Pete Ling coming, Neil Bullen that have come in the side. They're all elite. Their skippers. I think he's all-Australian skipper at the moment. Yep. We'll talk about your squad in a second, but they've got everything you need if they can stay healthy. Talk about match winners, Rankin, Rochelle. Tell me why they can't.
Well, and you look at the points for, so they've got the second highest amount of points for per game, 103.8 is their average. Only the Western Bulldogs are going better. But defensively, only the Pies have conceded less. Pies averaging 68.5, the Crom at 74.5. So when you're scoring and that defence that Geordie Dawson told us at Gather Round they were working on, that's become really good. And their losses, you look at the fact they lost to the Pies by 10 and Fremantle by 3 goals. That form is now being franked, especially the Fremantle stuff. We knew the Pies were good, but the Dockers have turned a corner. It's a
and how well do the Pies and Adelaide, Crows, match up?
And Adelaide have got a lot of games, a big chunk coming up at home as well.
Yeah. So anyway,
you talk about a grand final. That'll be at the MCG.
Yeah, it would be at the G.
Again, we touched on that when Geordie was on the show about how they perform at the G. They only get 2 or 3 chances over the course of the year to play there. So that'll come down. That'll be interesting to see if they can.
Yeah, there's a weird one with Noble. Noble coming to mind. It was just a storyline. You can always see their storylines.
What about this week? They've got Brisbane.
This is a big game. This is a game where we'll get into the footy. I think we get into the footy shortly. Well, let's hold it because I like it, but we'll talk about that one in a second. I love it. You're getting a bit toey.
Yeah, I know.
Let's keep moving forward.
I'm
excited.
Quickly, Freo, are they back?
Yep.
Walls not convinced.
I'm not convinced. No, I don't trust them because they've been up and down, up and down. You've got to put together a month of footy. And
that's 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's 3 weeks. It's not a month yet. And we talked about a 6-week.
3/4 of a month.
3/4 of a month. So, who have they got? They've got
a bye this week.
Yeah, they've got a bye this week. So
they've got a really easy run home is why we all tipped them top 4.
Yep.
They are now in the 8 and their run home is as easy as anyone's and we'll get into that later.
But I think who they beat on the weekend and where they won in Gold Coast. We had a great, we had Caleb on the pod last week who said.
The big Voss man. Didn't he get the chest
out? And the Voss man played well. So look, kudos to them. I got one more win for me to be fully convinced that they're back, but they've definitely set themselves up for the back half of the year.
The positive is how poor they've been through this first part, but yet they find themselves in the 8. I was talking about them as one of the bigger disappointments of the year. They've just scrapped. They've found a way just to sort of cruise in that sort of middle ground of the abyss, and now it's set up for them back half of the year, and we know that back half of the year form, I'm big on that, especially that last third is where you want to be going and really firing when the whips are cracking.
And Shai Bolton has been a big reason for that turnaround.
Didn't Dim and just hate watching his
former. Kicked 3 on the weekend.
He was enormous. His pressure at the end is what you need to see from
Luke Jackson
Shai.
as well. It's all starting to click. He's playing as a midfielder with Sean Darcy just playing on the field.
I remember.
I'll tell you what I love. I love seeing JL with emotion. So JL, I know you're listening. You love the pod.
He does. Big fan.
JL, when the team does something good and you whack your fist in the coach's box and you celebrate, that just gets me excited. So do it more. I don't want to see just a plain. It's like when I go down the aisle at Coles and I want some chips. I don't want the plain. I want the salt and vinegar. I want a little bit of flavour.
Sour
So
cream
give
and
me some
chive.
flavour. Daisy. I love it when I love seeing his
analogy
emotion.
just Christmas.
You need, you need the
I don't want to
passion.
walk into a library. I want to be in a nightclub. No, plain chips.
Give me some passion. Give it to us. The boys are feeding off it. Even in the box, you can tell they love it. So keep that up. If you keep that up, you'll get a 4-year extension and they might even make it to the grand final this year.
Well done. Great.
Anyway,
Privilege.
so that's what
I
I
still
thought.
remember a month ago when they played against St Kilda and it was the worst game of footy we've seen in
Yeah, their
decades.
test will come. We asked Caleb on the pod last week. We said your test will come when you come to Melbourne. Gold Coast, you match up well. It was wet. They love contested ball, Fremantle. Let's see you do it in Melbourne. Crocodile. They must have tuned in. They must have tuned in. Look, Will Crouch has just tweeted this one. I want to read this one out and get your thoughts on this. Do we read too much into these stories? And I want to know, is this, where there's smoke,
Not about me, is it?
is there fire? No, Daisy, this one isn't about you. This one is all about St Kilda's best footballer. Port Adelaide clearly ramping it up its pitch to Lewis St Kilda star Sire Wanganeen Malira. Jason Horne-Francis hosted him at home for dinner last night with close mate Jace Burgoyne. Do you expect to see Wanganeen Malira back in Port Adelaide colours next year, boys?
If I'm St Kilda, I'm saving him at any cost. Well, not any cost because that's probably slightly silly, but if I'm looking at TDK or I'm looking at Naz, I would be, he's somebody they've invested time in, a high draft pick. They've got him through now to the player he is. Really loves Ross Lyon. He's made some really positive comments around that and the playing group. Lives with Marcus Windhager and Mitchie Owens, which has been really good for his development and sort of personal development. I wouldn't want, if you're a Saints fan, obviously you don't want to see him go, but you're not certainly letting him just walk. You'd be making a real effort because he's somebody, midfield, halfback, those players who have the rare ability, time and space that make the game slow down. And you can think of them off. Pendles is one of them more inside. You go back to your sort of Andrew McLeod's off halfback. Yeah, these type of players, they're rare, and he's certainly in that mould.
Even when he got knocked down, nearly knocked out the other week.
Last
week. And then he got up and then continued to play at a high standard for the rest of the game.
He had 29 for the game. He had 15 in the last quarter. I know this because I had him for 30.
That's another element.
He nearly got 30 and he missed like 15, I think more, because you have to have the concussion
He
protocol.
had a couple of fumbles when he first did come back on too that cost you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, stop watching
But
after
that's
that.
an element of toughness that you can't breed into someone.
Yeah.
To have a big
He is a
hit.
star though.
He's a
Like
star.
you got to remember they're right down the bottom of the ladder, and
is there
his
like
dash
a-
off halfback is hard to find.
So if he doesn't want to stay, is there a world where you're sort of either working a Zach
I
Butters
was thinking
deal?
Zach Butters is the one. I
back
think Zach
across?
Butters stays if
Are
he
you trying to
signs.
then work a Zach Butters to Carlton,
The Canies.
TDK to
St Kilda.
St Kilda?
Well, that's what it's looking like these
That's
days.
a tweet. That one.
Yeah,
three-way, four-way
these are
trades.
sort of all the options.
No,
and if
yeah.
you,
But do you really want, TDK, he's a superstar. But traditionally, ruckman is a position you can find cheap and spread the cash around because I don't feel like they're that important compared to players that are match winners.
Max Gawn, would you pick him in your side head to head with the midfield?
Exception.
But
There's
again,
an exception.
I think that's what St Kilda are looking at. There's the exception to the rule with
Marshall's
everything.
not bad though, is he?
Yeah, I know, but if you could base your team.
No, he's
it's
not.
hard to find a Marshall.
Yeah,
not every team.
if they had zero ruck depth, I hear
Well,
your
you'd
point.
think Marshall's got to go if he comes in. Like, why would Marshall want to play?
Well, if he can play forward,
He's not a forward.
No, but I
Like,
think
he can play forward, but he's a ruck. Like, I can't see both of them being on that list.
using Max as an example though, with TDK, you could base a lot of your game style around his influence.
Yeah.
and then you could again, rucks aren't a
But
dime
how's
a
it going
dozen.
for Carlton right now, Wal?
Yeah, not as well.
and this is sort of the argument
This
that
is
I
the
put
argument against.
forth.
I'm just saying.
He's
Like,
just-
he's dominating, but they're not winning.
I'm sitting on the fence here. I don't
But
think
you've got to
the
get off
other
the
way.
fence and have an opinion.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Otherwise,
well-
you get splinters in your ass.
Yeah, you get splinters in
All
your
I'm saying is
not in
he-
these arts,
he
but
could-
protecting
he
your
could
layer.
be-
How thick are those suit pants?
Pretty
They're
good.
rolling.
The glutes.
But he could be a really important cog. And you
He
talk
could
about,
be.
but he could be one of the top
Yeah.
handful
But
paid.
so when you
on your
pay that
team.
much money, you
Yes.
lose a lot of cash to spread for all your other players, and
I hear
ultimately,
your point because, arguably, Carlton's midfield is better than what St Kilda have currently. But are they being match winners? Are they the ones who are the difference in games? Is he the difference? They're probably in a similar spot right now. So if you're St Kilda, you're going, does it change that much? Or are you then hopeful that you keep your Nasai's and your Kings and hopefully it goes up from there?
you got to hold on to Nas. I think that's what we're saying.
No,
Yeah, he'd be my number one priority and pretty clearly.
You can't have both?
You could, but then again, so what are you sacrificing? You're going to give a lot of your salary cap, the war chest as they call it, to two players, and then it probably falls away. I think they need to find some bottom. And don't worry about having two absolute superstars. Get some of that depth through your bottom
Do you
half year
send
list.
King to Port Adelaide?
Well, again, these are all the machinations.
He's not
and
playing now, and you can start to see that they're building something around the field line they've got without him.
This is, and I know we're only halfway through the year. Come the back end of the year, there is going to be so much talk and so much speculation because there's going to be wins for every club. Like you talk at the moment, Sydney are apparently in the race for Charlie Curnow. Well, I didn't even realise Charlie was a chance to be leaving.
Well, Hurdy wants them to call Joey Danaher.
But
Like, if that's a
but all this,
Joey
but
might be
even
going, "I can't be bothered on the
Jamara,
farm
like all
anymore."
these things. So we've hypothesised about a three-way trade already. There could be players going left, right, and centre.
I think contract or no contract, now with all this chat around player movement, it doesn't really matter how many years you got left. There's enough leverage. So I think it just opens the door for so much speculation, which is exciting for the football world.
That's what they want.
Come the end of the year.
If you're St Kilda, your priority number one, keep Nas.
Yep.
If you're Carlton, is it priority number one, keep TDK?
I think you keep him, and I think you move Mackay.
Wow.
And you get some more players in because you got to give up something. You can't pay them all. And when I say
Would you offer a straight swap for, so you give him Harry Mackay and ask for a King in return?
nah, King's injury prone.
Hmm.
As a list manager, I want more role players.
Okay.
They need more role players. If Carlton, only because Carlton, they need to capitalise on Walsh and Cripps, and they need Curnow and they need Wiedering. Like you just can't miss that window.
They can't get any other players because they're playing a minimum chips.
How much is Mackay on?
Heaps.
So if he goes
And
to,
rightfully so too, Coleman medalist.
if he goes to say Essendon, right, or whatever, I made that up, not Essendon. Who's got a bit of money?
Melbourne, they need a forward.
Melbourne need a forward. You go to Melbourne, they get a few players back. Maybe Clary goes in their midfielders. I don't know what it is.
What about the Dogs?
I'm throwing out names here, but the Dogs don't need.
This is why this is probably chat
What
for
I'm
another
saying
day.
is
But this is why it's going to be exciting come the back end of the year because if we're
we
sort of
could go all day.
spitballing these couple of minutes over just a hypothetical.
The main thing is, I just feel like if I was list manager, one player versus four, I'd take the four. So you can win. Look at Neil Bullen and Peatling and Cumming. You guys wouldn't have ever known much about two of them, three.
Oh.
That's the reason why they're playing so well. They've got these role players that just
very good.
help the superstars. All right, we move on. Let's get into this week's
Good
football.
chat though.
It's it was a great chat. We should have. It wasn't even on the run sheet. That's how organic it is at the Aces AFL show. Hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying our work. Get in the comments. We love your comments. We got 8 last week. Let's get it up to 16. Righto, it's time for Wals All-Australian side, the mid-season All-Australian team. Wal, take it away. And at the end, me and Daisy are going to pick it apart.
Righto, so mid-year All-Australia. Now I've picked a squad of 24 players, so 8 backs, 8 mids and 8 forwards. We'll start with the backs and Cal Wilkie, again, he's the lock. Such an underrated player. I'm not going to go through everyone individual, but I think to highlight his work week in, week out is really deserving.
Fullback, lock.
Yeah, fullback lock. Wanganeen Miller is, obviously we've spoken a lot about him on the show. Sammy Taylor and Lockie Ash, they're teammates and I think they deserve to be there. Bailey Dale, again, he's broken some records this year. Dane Zorko, who continues to defy the odds of maturity. Sammy Collins, obviously, again, still playing a role and playing really well after featuring heavily on last week's show. And then the 8th spot is an interesting one.
Well, you've got 9 down there, so you haven't made your decision on the 8th.
There's 2 here, and I wanted a bit of support from you both. I've got Benny Miller, which could be a surprise.
He has had a great year.
And then Rory Lobb from the Bulldogs, who is just playing his role week in, week out, the absence of Leon Jones. So I'm edging towards Benny Miller. Have you boys got any thoughts? Or
I like the fact that you've thrown in a defender in a side that has a lot of the footy down there. When you're playing key post in one of these sides where there's not a whole lot of heat on the ball, they're coming in and you're getting it down there a lot. He's been in 38 defensive one-on-ones and only lost 8, which is a very good record considering Sam Taylor leads that stat, but considering how much of the pill comes down in the fashion it does.
In the fashion, yeah.
He's been and a lot of people will be sitting
Rightio,
there.
And to support you, Jesse Hogan didn't kick a goal on him last week, and that is very hard to do. I'd love to know a stat. Any stat nerds out there, tell me how many times Jesse Hogan hasn't kicked a goal in the last 2 years. I'd be very surprised to see if it's been more than 2 or 3 games.
7.
7 games.
7 is my feel.
So there's
Seven's
my 8 defenders. Sorry, Rory, you've missed out. But Benny Miller has
big freeze head.
yes, big freeze head, big
Oh,
lobster
done,
head.
lobster.
Nah, loving that.
And the mids, this is, I think, a bit easier because there's an out-and-out stars at the minute. Bailey Smith, who I believe is probably the best player in the competition currently, second to Nick Dacos, who is, again, pulling together an outstanding season. Eddie Richards, a former teammate of mine. Zach Merritt, who I reckon is an outstanding captain. Jordan Dawson, who's been on the show, again, leading.
Who's your ruckman? This is what I'm interested in.
So I've gone a different way. I've gone for 2 ruckmen, and they're the 2 up next. I've gone for Sherry, who I think is just continuing to perform across the ground. North are having a disappointing year, but he's been outstanding. And Maxie Gawn, who's put together, such a good season. Again, the weight of expectation and performance on poor Maxie week in, week out is too much, but he continues to front up. And then the 8th spot is a good friend of the show, Tommy Liberatore. Yet to have an All-Australian blazer in the closet.
Is that right?
Liver. What about Huey McCluggage? Is he featuring?
So there's a couple of...
Jeez, there's going to be some
Have you got an
contention
emergency
here.
list?
He's on the emergency list, Huey. He's a ripping game on the weekend from Huey.
Flying.
What do you have,
He's-
41 record?
41 record.
That's his personal record.
And Lockie Neal's also putting together a really, really decent season. So they're probably 2
Good
in the
luck
same
being
side. But I've mentioned some of those names.
You could have missed 10. I'm sure people can drop him in there.
Is anyone in there that you think's contentious? Because I can't see anyone that shouldn't be on that
I
list.
think Hugh
especially-
McCluggage has to be in. That's all I'll say. I
You
won't say
double
who you're taking him
ruckman
out.
at the expense of a mid. Also, the Darcy Cameron has been bloody.
But even Ollie Dempsey on a wing, if you're talking
Well, this-
position specific.
there's-
The fact that you haven't picked a wingman. You have to pick wingers, don't you, Walt?
Well,
This is my
yeah,
take.
but
As
you
a
don't
wingman
have to,
myself,
but I think this is-
you can't just throw a Nick Dacos on a wing.
No, but I love the fact that this year, I said this once before, this year could be the first year where you could actually pick a side to go and play. You got Ollie Dempsey on a wing. You've got 2 halfback flankers in a Zorko and a Bailey Dale. You've got a centre halfback, a fullback, some actual stoppers, and then up the other, and I'm sure we're getting to the forwards.
Yep.
But it's not just
that's how you should pick it, right?
But it's not, well, that's not how it happens, though.
But that's how they should do it.
So what I've broken up to backs, mids, and
Well,
forwards.
it's their positions. That's why I get a bit frustrated when they pick
No, I
players
understand your
that aren't
frustration.
wingmen because
Yeah.
they wouldn't know how to see out the best mids man
But if you're
to
sitting
save
there going,
themselves.
well, Nick Dacos could play wing, Ollie Dempsey is a winger.
That's the honour of being on ball. You normally go to the bench if you don't make it on ball. Anyway, that's my take.
But these-
I was never near
again,
an
I'm going to
All-Australian
stand
squad.
strong. Those guys are putting together a ripping season,
They are.
all 8 of them. And
But Dempsey has to be in there for
yeah,
the
but
wing
see, look,
position.
currently both ruckmen, I reckon, are doing enough
Yep.
to have been in the 8, the 8 mids that is. But whether that continues on, again,
I like it.
traditionally there's only been one ruckman, and we'll see if that stands the
Now
test
let's
of
get
time.
to the forward line.
Get to the forward
Jeez,
line.
this is going to be
Now-
good.
My first 5 forwards all share something in common.
Forwards.
The first
Selfish.
letter of their first name starts with J.
Jeremy, Jesse,
Jeremy, Jesse, Jamie,
Jordan,
Jordan,
And there's one surprise in there.
Jen King.
Jack Gunston.
Oh, not Higgins.
Jen King
And
was a
Higgins.
stretch.
Did you
Oh,
not
there's a
say
couple
that?
of Jacks.
Yeah, there's a couple. So Jamie Elliott, Cameron, Higgins, Hogan, and Gunston. The fives with J's.
Gunston.
Gunston's a big call. He's played
Ben
well.
Long.
Like it.
Mate, love it.
Yeah, he's putting together a ripping season. Riley Thrillthorpe
Yep.
from the Adelaide Crows,
Livy
and then
King.
Maxi King, who's returning 3 goals a game.
What, the fog hasn't made his way in
The
there?
fog hasn't made his way in there.
I heard you took the fog out this morning.
Number 3 was Jay Higgins, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
yeah,
But again, that could be forward pocket, him and Elliott.
yeah, him and Elliott. But they're both again. I don't know. Well, Jack's kicked 29 goals. I
Yeah,
think,
they're both flying.
And then Jamie's on 33.
One plays in the best side, one plays in the team bottom 4.
There
So
you
it's
go.
hard to kick goals when the ball's not coming in as well. Do you factor that in as a selector?
I do. Yes. I had that-
Did you
that
have
notion.
Nas in there? You did? No, you didn't.
No, I didn't have Nas. No.
No, you
Mate,
did.
Yeah, Nas,
Yeah, the backs.
Yeah, half
The
back
backs.
squad.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's there you go. So Cal Wilkie, Nas, and Jackie Higgins. There's 3 players from a side that's going like
But
Busting
it's
up.
mid-season, and as you know, this could fade
Good
away
one.
or it could keep going.
good.
So that's my 24 in the squad.
We are
would you
looking
call
forward
it?
to getting that graphic up.
We should do just one for the socials. The players that have missed,
Yes. There'd be
just because this becomes how hard it is for the selectors.
Yeah. No, I agree. We'll do one at the end. But again, Huey McCluggage, shout out. Fantastic.
shout him
game of the
out,
weekend.
you left
I
him
gotta
out,
shout
mate.
out. No. But look, there's
Coaching.
who's coaching?
Let's pick a coach too.
Yeah.
You got to go. You
you can't go
Nixie,
past.
I reckon.
Nixie, do you?
Well, the Pies have won a flag, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Nixie was almost getting the arse.
This is
and now he's in the top 4. So I think if you're going to go to a coach, it has to be one that's just jumped about 10 positions. And as I said, I reckon they'll be top 4. Looking forward to Daisy's got his power rankings coming up very shortly. I would say Matty Nix right now, and then Craig McRae as number 2.
So I had it the other way around. Craig McRae, he's
Bevo.
Bevo's coach role, but you look at where they're sitting.
Yes.
Like they're sitting, are they just outside the 8?
They are currently sitting in number 9th position on the ladder.
So
how can you give it to them?
you can't give it to them. Oh, again,
Not now.
Not now. Wait till the end of the year. But I think Craig McRae deserves the mantle of being, the All-Australian coach currently, just the way that he's got his troops playing. And second to your boy, Matty Nix, who, again, the turnaround from Adelaide and their arrow to go forward. Obviously, it's going to be really interesting to see how they play at the end of the year. But that's
show we have had so
squad.
far.
Well
We're
done,
breaking
Walt.
down
Thank
some
you.
footy news. We've got Wals All-Australian mid-season, that is. And we still have Daisy's power rankings to come. Daisy, do you want to just wait for a game and let's do Friday, Thursday, and then you're going to jump into your power rankings. Boys, we haven't got a guest this week. We've decided to crunch more football because there's some big games. A reminder, anyone out there, get your tips done now because I forgot last week's and I am Troy cooked. I'm out of the competition because I am an absolute flog. So, bye, St Kilda, Dockers.
I reckon they'll both win.
Have a little spell. Okay. Friday night and Thursday night. We'll start with Thursday night football. It is the Western Bulldogs taking on Hawthorn. This is big. 9th v 6. Hawthorn struggling. No Sicily. Dogs. They are flying. They need to get in the 8. Boys, take it away. Who you got? Why do you like them?
Great intro there. Well,
energy.
I'll have a look at the Hawks and you can have a go at your old side. For Hawthorn, they have to find a way. They need to be better. They need to be hard. They need to be tough. Does Marvel lead to a conducive brand to do that? Probably not. It's a quick deck. And we saw the Bulldogs take on the Bombers who weren't able to put any pressure on them and they were sliced and diced. Concerns for the Hawks, yes, their last 3 have been really average, haven't beaten a really decent side. I think the GWS Giants is probably the only side they've beaten of note and they're currently not going great either. So maybe they have been found out. I'm not willing to write them off just yet, but I'll be tipping the Bulldogs. Hawks need to find, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, and Dogs coming off the bye, so they're going to have fresh legs. They didn't get it done against Geelong the previous week, which is a big game for the club. But you talk about their form line and some of the game styles that they're producing and the Marvel factor. They play so well there. You touched on how they took Essendon to the cleaners.
Smacked them.
And again, a lot of the media are talking about how well they're going to finish off the year and have them in the sort of the top 3 or 4 in terms of power rankings and going into the end of the season. So, look, I think they're going to get it done comfortably. Hawthorn just need to turn too much around in too little time and then you take away their skipper. I just think the Dogs are going to come out firing, plenty of energy. And you look at the health of their list with Adam Trelaw coming back in. I think it's only Cody Waitman on a long-term injury list and obviously Sam Darcy, who's a couple of weeks away. They're fit and firing and healthy, the Bulldogs. So I think they're going to get this done quite comfortably. They play Marvel so well and sit back and watch a good game of footy, though. I don't think I'm going to go along and have a watch.
Are you tipping?
I'm going to tip the Dogs, and I'm also going to tip you guys into a couple of fun facts. It is our best mate, StatMate, and when it comes to building a multi or just arming yourself with everything you need to know about the game of footy, StatMate is your best mate. So download it on the App Store if you haven't already. Western Bulldogs ranked number 2 in disposals for the season, 383.8 per game. Then you go to Hawthorn. They're ranked 17th for disposals allowed this season. So what that tells me is they are going to have to stop this happy handball game that Luke Beveridge has coached for years. And at Marvel, I tend to think that it's just, I don't know, there's something like that Hawthorn kick, time and space game they played for years. It's going to be really hard to control the chaos the Dogs have. And when they allow so many touches, we saw last week they couldn't get a tackle on the Pies. And no disrespect, but we're talking about some of the more smoother movers, not your speedsters. The Dogs have a lot of speed, so I'm really worried about that. So I think if you're going to have a little bit of a play, it's pointing to possessions in this one.
I like the fact from a Hawthorn point of view, though, you are going to get opportunities to tackle. If you're flicking the ball around and you're intense there and you set up well enough, you'll get opportunities to pressure and score from turnover. But it is a nice one there, a nice little tidbit if you are playing the
You
disposals.
like your goals? Gunston's your man. Kicked 2+ in 5 of his last 6 against the Dogs. And Aaron Norton has also kicked 2+ in 4 of his last 5 against the Hawks. So there's some juicy little ones. Let's move to Friday night football. By the way, just congratulations to the AFL. They've done this really well. These 2 games on prime time. We need some pearlers, and that's what we've got. We've got third v second. It's the Adelaide Crows taking on the Brisbane Lions. This one's going to be at Adelaide Oval. Friday night, 7:40 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Daisy, start us off with your tip and what you like about this game.
Leaning towards the Crows here. Again, play the ground well. The weather is probably the question mark here, so not a space I really want to go into, but it could be a factor. Brisbane Lions seem at the minute to me like they are lifting against better sides. They're just sort of, moving the needle against the lesser likes. But when it comes to performing, Hawthorn was a really good example. They've got still the ability to flex and show. And this is another opportunity for them to do that. They're going to have to be good. Adelaide are flying. I'm loving what the Crows are doing again, so I'll be leaning towards them in a closer one than I think a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah, here. I think it's going to be close. I think Adelaide will get the job done. Like I said, Brisbane, they're just not playing 4 quarters of footy, and they let Essendon back into the game. And it was just one of those ones where it was tipped to blow out. It was going to be a 10-goal margin. But, Essendon, credit to them. They fought back, got it to level pegging, and then Lions just did enough. So, again, like you said, they do raise the bat a little bit when they come against the higher sides on the ladder, and whether they have the capacity to do that again and get a win away from home, time will tell. But I just think Adelaide, just in rare form at home on a Friday night, I think they're just going to – the ledge is just all ever so slightly going to go in Adelaide's favour.
Friday will be a low of 10 after 11 p.m, Daisy, and the high will be 15 degrees between 1 and 2. This is the night game, so the temperature range will be around 5 to 10. Wind will be making it feel a little bit cooler than actual temperature, with about 75% chance of precipitation. So that's the weather
on your rooftops.
There you go.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
I think we'll be fine. The over-under is very low, isn't it? So
take a raincoat.
This should be a good game of footy. Oh, look for Rankin in this one for me. I think this is the match winner performance. And the Charlie Cameron Cup. He used to play for this side. So no doubt, as we said, these players that play their old mob, they really turn up. And I wonder who goes to him. That'll be a matchup I'm looking forward to watching. But Charlie Cameron, might have my eyes on him in my little juicy same gamer.
Nice.
And if we go to our friends at StatMate, their one is Ben Keys has kicked a goal in 13 straight matches at Adelaide Oval. And Will Ashcroft has been on fire the last 5 weeks, averaging 29.2 disposals per game. He's had 25+ in all of them. So if you want some locks, according to StatMate, Ben Keys goal and Will Ashcroft 25. There
Keezer to Zorko.
Like it. And that's the one you were talking about at the start of the show.
That's where I'm looking. That's where the coaches are starting to go, right, try and take him away. But Zorko, the defence keeps him away from the crowd. He won't be doing
that's where the coaches might be going, but this is where the Osmerican Aces listeners and viewers are going. They want Daisy's power rankings. It's time for you. It's been 6 weeks. I can't wait to just review all your work from the start of the year, 6 weeks ago and right now and moving forward. But Daisy, it's your time to shine. And while it's our time to critique, take it away, Daisy.
Yes, thank you very much. No need for the applause. We're starting at the bottom. So there was a group last year, at the start of the year, just called No. That has now changed to you've had a crack, but start fundraising for Footy Trip. And there is 3 sides that fall into that category. It is Richmond, it is North Melbourne, and it is West Coast. Richmond, 1 win, 4 losses in this power ranking window. They got 3 wins for the year. I think they've probably over-indexed there, so well done to them. North have got the 1 win. They've been pretty pooch, and West Coast as well. So, figure out where you want to go, boys. Start to get creative with your footy trips. Have yourselves a safe and responsible time. This is where I have 2 teams in the abyss, Port Adelaide and Sydney. Just, again, no real idea what we're going to get. Port Adelaide's been flogged a couple of times. Sydney, disappointing last year's grand finalist to not be firing a shot and currently sitting well and truly outside the 8. I don't think they will be doing anything, so you can draw a line through them as well, but they're sitting in the abyss. This is the one that I'm most excited about. Gennaro Gattuso. Do you know who this is?
I have no idea.
So think of that accent as I say, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. So I've got Essendon, St Kilda and Melbourne and Carlton in the Gennaro Gattuso as they are sometimes maybe good and sometimes Maybe not. Essendon, they're only a game outside the 8, if you can believe that.
They were enormous last week against Brisbane. Like, they have so many injuries. I was so happy just watching them going, you know what? This is what we want to see. Just have a crack, fellas, and the talent will come through the next couple of years, and so will your injury list.
And that's it's unfortunate because where they find themselves, they're going well with the injuries. A lot of sides have had injuries. Similar, Sydney probably an example, and they can't get near it. So the Bombers are going all right, but can't see it. St Kilda, again, the best is pretty solid as we see against Melbourne, and then Melbourne lose. That's why they're there. And Carlton, they're the only one I keep a little glimmer of hope for. I'm not completely ruling them out. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker. They've got West Coast and North Melbourne. They can get some confidence, and they are a confidence side, but that's where they sit. I've got it down to 9. The finals race for me is locked away with 9. So if you look at the ladder, the team in 9th position currently are the Western Bulldogs. According to my power rankings, we are going to go with Hawthorn in this block. The weeks from round 7 to 12 are your 9th rated side. 38 and 39 tackles the last 2 weeks. They had 3 losses in that period. They were to the Gold Coast Suns, the Brisbane Lions, and Collingwood. So they're not playing well against the best sides. It's as simple as that, which puts big question marks on you when you are trying to contend. The only side they have beaten is the GWS Giants in the first half of the season. That's of any note. So they 9th. They're currently 6th on the ladder, down to 9th, and 4th they were in my power rankings earlier.
I just got that up then. I wanted to compare how many spots they've dropped 5 spots in 6 weeks on Daisy's power rankings.
You can play along. A little game for you off the side here. Well, no questions without notice. Yes. In 8th position is the GWS Giants. Again, some real concerns here. They've got enough talent on the list, but the 3 losses within that same period of the rounds 7 through 12 that we've done the power rankings, Sydney, Fremantle and Western Bulldogs. Sydney, we know, not that great. Western Bulldogs and Freo, better sides, but still not good enough. I thought this was a side that would have been cemented within the top 4 for most of the season, and we'd be starting to get really excited with the list that they've got. Their one good win in that time was against the Cats down at GMHBA, but since then fallen away. So I've got them sitting in 8th. They were in 6th spot as we started this season. In 7th is the Fremantle Dockers. They are starting to roll. They've had a 4-2 win-loss record in this period of the power rankings. They've beaten the Crom, they've beaten the GWS Giants and the Gold Coast Suns. That's decent enough form. I would have had them higher except for that shocker against St Kilda.
Yeah.
They just have an ability to put in one real pooch one.
Yeah, that was pooch.
But they have a good run on the way home. I think they will be flying. And they were in the hopeless or hopeful in the earlier rankings. 6th position, the reigning champs in the Brisbane Lions.
Jeez, you've dropped them low.
I have, yeah.
You've dropped them really low. In fact, you've dropped them by 1 spot. I thought you were a bit strict last time at 5.
So they're second on the ladder. We know that, though. I had them in the 5th position.
But they're winners, Daisy. Do you take into the 4 points? I know they don't win as sexy as you'd like, but they're just getting the points.
And this is why sort of in this period, that's where I've got them. Hopefully this will change by the next time we do this. 4 wins, a draw and a loss. If you told me the reigning champs had drawn with North Melbourne and they'd lost to Melbourne, I think that's probably where they find themselves because that just becomes a question mark. What do you got?
How's this league, though, then Melbourne? You think, they will absolutely wipe St Kilda and they get smacked.
Yeah, and the Lions have beaten the Gold Coast Suns and the Hawk. They're their 2 best wins in that period. But the draw and the loss to Melbourne have the question marks for me. So that's where
I just think that is there 5 better teams than Brisbane? Is that what you're saying?
I've got it. Yeah. And I'm like, you got Gold Coast above Brisbane. Brisbane beat them.
Sorry, we'll hold it back. But there's 5 better teams than Brisbane.
Fly through so we can come out.
Yeah, okay. Well, in 5th position is the Adelaide Crows. We like what they are doing. They were the number 1 seed when I did this to start the season. They've been good. 4 wins, 2 losses in this power rankings block. The losses to Fremantle and Collingwood. Collingwood by 10 points at the MCG. That's a big tick. We know how good the Pies are going, and Freo again have franked the form, so they will continue. They get a nice opportunity to make a statement on the back of this against the Brisbane Lions, who you asking are teams better than. We find out here. The top 4, this is what you've all been waiting for. The Gold Coast Suns, my boys, are in 4th position. That is up from 7th when I did the rounds 1 to 6th. 4 wins, beaten the Western Bulldogs, who are the form team of the comp. Hawk as well in that one. 11-point loss to Brisbane. we see. This is why they're all around the same point at Fremantle as well. They're comfortable with how they're going and what their draw looks like on the back end of the year. Brisbane does have a tougher draw too. Put that as a little asterisk. Third spot, the Western Bulldogs.
Geez, that's high.
Western Bulldogs, your third-rated side currently. They were in there hopeful or hopeless.
No, keep going. We'll get a
3
question
wins,
later.
2 losses. They've had the bye. They've lost to the Cats and the Gold Coast Suns. Yeah, that is correct. Cats and the Gold Coast Suns. Very good sides. Grant me that.
Under 2 goals each, I think.
They've had the 3 wins. Their average points for in their wins, 123.6. Average points conceded, 52.6.
Low.
Average, the goals they've kicked, totality in their 3 wins, 55. They've kept their opposition to 22. Offensively amazing, defensively sound. That's why you're your third-rated side. Second spot is the Cats, 4 wins, 2 losses. They lost to Carlton GWS. They'll be ruining, especially the one against Carlton. They beat the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood. They're professional. They're sound. Dangerfield was a concern. That hasn't been a worry since he's gone out. That's why they're your second-rated side, and they have arguably the easiest of the draws. I think I might do that next week, the run home for these sides, but they have a really pretty back half of the year. And the number 1 side, Pies fans rejoice, Collingwood Football Club. What more can you say? They're doing it without their stars. They're doing it when their stars are in there. They've really managed the season well. They've rested players. They compete, as I've said a few times. I think their game plan is the most repeatable of all the sides. Their one loss within that 7th to 12th round period was to the Cats by 3 points. They are flying. They are your clear. I give you daylight to second. They are your cleared number 1 seed.
Daylight after Geelong beat them is my question.
Yeah.
Daylight. But they got beat by Geelong how many weeks ago?
Not many.
Yeah. So
But daylight.
It can't be daylight.
4 weeks
and
ago.
By the way, before, well done.
Thank you.
Please.
Well done. And I'm just jumping
Great
in here.
research.
No,
Just a few
you
questions.
can have your opinion daylight. I think if you look at the body of work of what they've done, yeah, they lose to the Cats, but that's the one loss by 3 points. So, yes, that is the team in second, but it's how you're losing. The fact that Geelong lost to Carlton, that's where I put the daylight because of performances like that.
The Dogs at 3 is I'm challenging myself to not be too aggressive because they have played.
Be aggressive.
No, they have played very good football, and I have Geelong at 2. It's just 3 above Adelaide, above these other sides. I get that they're on the right track, but geez, that's high.
I'm viewing it as if there's a game this week between any of the teams in the top 6, I think Freo deserve to be at number 7 where they are, and Hawthorn have slipped out of the 8. Yep. That's fine. They're 9th. But if there was a game against Brisbane and Gold Coast, you got Brisbane at 6 and Gold Coast at 4. If there was a game this weekend, who would your confidence be with in terms of a power ranking right here, right now?
But that's not how it works. It's over a 6-week block.
Brisbane gave them a little bit of a touch up a few weeks ago.
So, but that's you talk about a gut feel.
This competition's so even.
This is even, but a Dogs at 3 again with that. Talk about the offense and the defense. You talk about a premiership window. I know there's a great graphic that gets put up every now and then of who's in that window from an offensive point of view and a defensive point of view. With those kind of numbers, there'd be a clear number 1, I reckon, in the Bulldogs. So, look, they're thoroughly in the top couple. 30's high.
Open for discussion, but I stand by.
Leave the comments because we could sit here all day, and this has been an amazing show. We've got still a couple more things to get through. Let's leave it for the comments.
Yeah.
Get in YouTube.
Get in.
YouTube's great because we can see them. Socials as well. Get all your feedback in, and we'll bring it up next week. If there's something that you disagree with or you agree with, please get in the comments. We love it. We see it every week, and the more, the merrier. Yeah. And we are open to feedback. But Daisy, well done.
Thank you.
That was done thorough. It was elite. You've got all the form lines in there. For anyone that's watching and listening, you got a little bit of a recap of the last 6 weeks. And well done on the All-Australian side.
Yep.
There's always opinions, and we love them all. So well done, fellas.
And a poem as well. We've had it all today.
Yeah, we have.
Well, there's plenty. An
official statement off the
there's
top,
redemption.
a poem.
Do you want redemption now, or you want to keep talking football? Is there any more games? Do you want to go through any more games, boys?
My must watch is Richmond taking on Sydney. I'm fascinated by this game. Richmond, as I said, a side that are planning their silly Sundays and Mad Mondays or whatever you're allowed to do now. Probably none of that. They're probably going to a library to read together in the silent section.
Geez, that's harsh for a team that's been unbelievable.
Yes. No, but Sydney are the ones, because if they drop this, and I can't see it happening, but they haven't been great. I don't know where to from them.
Yep. I've got actually my must watch is Geelong Gold Coast. So I'll quickly touch on that because
good game.
It's a really good game, and I think there's amazing history down at GMHBA. So Gold Coast have never won a game down there. So the 46 players on the list, no one's ever won a game, including the players that they've recruited there.
What?
And Damien Hardwick has never been
Oh,
successful.
so the
down there.
whole club at the
Whole
Gold
club
Coast Suns has not won
has
there.
not won a game down there.
And what's PointsBet giving us on the odds? Because that sounds like a lock to me, fellas. That sounds like a lock to me.
Never bet a
But I'll keep talking about it. But
$1.40's not. That's a little bit of juice in there for your multiples.
Yeah, and I think but the last time these two played, if you can remember, was in the Northern Territory, and Gold Coast slapped Geelong. 10 goal.
Yeah,
10 goal
won
win.
two of their last three, the Gold Coast Suns against Geelong.
Yeah,
The GMHBA
but
factor.
they're sitting fourth and fifth, and this game is coveted with stars. Obviously, Bailey Sis we touched on earlier, and Jeremy Cameron, who is leading the Coleman at the minute. And then we've got Noah Anderson on for the Gold Coast Suns. 39 touches on the weekend.
Was he in your All
800
Australian
metres.
squad from memory?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Did you name ex-captain?
No, I didn't name a captain.
Did you want to do that right now quickly?
Yeah, Jordan Dawson for mine.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, he's standing up in crucial games. He's getting a lot of coaches' votes, and he'd be going very well in the
Is there
Brando
a
medal.
vice-captain?
There is no vice
Daisy.
captain. I haven't got a vice captain, but you talk about Noah Anderson and his form and his leadership at present. He'd obviously been in the running for that.
My must-watch is a little bit of a different one. There's probably two. Carlton, in essence, a cracker. Can't wait to watch that. But it's more about the headlines off the back of this one. Next week's show, we'll have a little bit of something here. But if North Melbourne drop this game to West Coast, I'm expecting fireworks out of something. You cannot tell me that rebuild is going well if West Coast beat you and you've sold the game over there.
Bunbury.
It's in Bunbury. I'm a big believer in North Melbourne, but there's no way known after a bye, a reset, you can't go down to Bunbury. There's a lot of Perth boys that love, there's a lot of Perth boys on their list. They'll go down there, they'll love this, but I expect a win from North Melbourne. And if that doesn't happen, then I'm really interested to see what the storylines are off the back of that, because it'll be chaos.
If this wasn't in Bunbury, I was going to put North in as my propeller bet.
Why is that? You're worried about that?
No, I just don't know. Like, it could be blowing sideways. It's park footy essentially.
my
It's
God.
conditions you
You're
don't
making
get.
me nervous because I might have picked that.
But it's the other game there down the bottom, the King's birthday clash, Melbourne v Collingwood. The game should be awesome. Melbourne have found some form apart from the weekend. Pies flying, but a day that's bigger than footy. Fight MND. If you can donate, buy a beanie, whatever it is, make sure you support a great charity. Neil Danaher, you're a superstar. Go Pies.
So, mate, we'll give it a bloody round.
Yeah.
Because I know he deserves it. Such a stalwart of the competition.
Did Melbourne get up on the day like that? Because it's a game that is heavily favoured the Pies, but there's emotion in that one. And I like teams that get beat the week before because they have to bounce back and they always start well.
It's just hard to tip against the Pies. But they're, if nothing else, they're probably due for a puke one.
But I just think Craig, you talk about Craig Hay and pulling the emotional strings. I reckon he'll pull another emotional string for Collingwood and they'll get up. Like you said, you well said before about the stage that's set for such a good cause, and both teams really play their role in highlighting that cause. So good luck to both teams, but yeah, Magpies will get that done quite
footy
easily.
fans, they weren't happy last week. There wasn't much football in Melbourne, but you get as much football as you like this week, and you get to watch footy from Thursday to Monday. It is time for one of our biggest segments we have. It's I'm going to take this jersey off. I don't want any bad juju. Even though it's Jordan Dawson's signed jersey, big shout out to the Fog, by the way. I love the Fog. I'm not going to put you I'm not going to put any more pressure on you, big fella. And I hope the pressure is a good little bit of a training for finals to come. When everyone has eyes on you, big fella, you just put the chest out, and to the boys, lower your eyes outside 50. The Fog doesn't miss. All right, it's time. Our new club. Round of applause to the Kahuna Kangaroos.
Is that Big Dick's territory? Big Dick Tracy?
Big Dick Tracy is from Kahuna. I think that's his squad. We'll have to Google that.
The Murray?
Yeah, that'll be. I like the logo. It's got the Docker over the kangaroo. I've never seen that before. The Docker's kind of colours. Anyway, boys, this is big. We've been close 2 weeks in a row. If you talk about form and a Ross line, little Rossism, the trend is your friend, and the trend is 3 from 4 the last 2, and we are looking close. So. We missed 20K. I think it was, what was your one you lost? 17K.
17.2.
Jesus, a lot of money. But this week is the one. So, boys, get in positions. It's time to spin the wheel and then we'll reveal our bets. Here we go. So, for round 13, the profit propeller is about to be spun. Wal, take it away. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Bang! The profit propeller is off and running. It's spinning. This week's winner is going to be Riddles Creek Football Club. Bang! That's my club, plugger. You'll be on the phone soon. It's taken 13 weeks for Riddles Creek to get a go at the propeller. Oh boy, the Riddles
boy.
Creek Bombers. This is big.
This becomes even more pressure on yourself.
This is where I grew
You vote
up.
for Bombers,
Yes.
and
Yes, and I think I could almost give Plugger a call on the. It'd be pretty funny if I gave him. Do you want me to call him, or do you want me to do it off there?
Yeah, you
I'll
can
just
try
quickly
now.
Here we go. Big Plugger Nolan.
Yo.
G'day, mate. Congratulations. It's Tommy from the Aus American Aces AFL
You're
show.
live on the pod.
You're live on the pod, so watch your mouth. You're on the propeller, big fella.
Oh, get fucked.
Which bit about watch your mouth didn't you get?
What's going on?
Mate, I'll pass you to Daisy so you can have a chat, but it's Riddles Creek's time to shine. As the president, you need to do something this week.
About bloody time, mate. We've been waiting for this.
Put it in the mic.
She's been close but no cigar for us boys the last couple of weeks. So we'll run you through our legs, but you need to then come back to us at some point in the next sort of hour or two with your leg. Has to be above $2, has to be on the PointsBet app, but you'll get to hear live what we are locking in, starting with the alumni of Riddles Creek, Mr. Tommy Sheridan.
Yep, Plugger for Riddles Creek. We're going to lock in North Melbourne 1-39 against West Coast at 220.
Do you like it, Plugger?
I do.
Well, that's good.
They're playing in Bunbury. Do you like that?
Bunbury, where the fuck's that?
Yeah, it's a good question. We move along
far west.
Yes,
Go west and keep
West.
the Wild West and go wilder. We go to Mitchy Wallace. Mitchy, what are you locking in?
Hey, Plugger. Good to meet you, mate. Aaron Cadman for the GWS Giants. They're playing against Port. He's kicked 3 goals. Oh, sorry. He's kicked 2 goals 3 out of 5 times in his last 5 outings. So I've got him for 2 goals at $2.
Do you like that? The number one pick?
Cadman, yeah, he's going well. He's
All
up
right.
and about. I like that.
Well, I'm going to the Sydney-Richmond clash, and I'm going to take Sydney to cover a line of 16.5. They have to beat Richmond by 17 points. Surely they can do that. It is the Bloods culture. They have been in the pool. They've been in the ocean. They've been everywhere. And that is my leg for the profit propeller, level at $2. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's a bit dicey. Sydney has shit the bed recently.
They're due to come back, mate. The cleats, the sheets have been cleaned and they will be firing. So you have a think, mate. But congratulations, you are on the profit propeller this week for Riddles Creek, baby.
Awesome, lads. Let's go. Let's do this.
There you go, boys. The Riddles Creek Football Club and big plugster. He's the president down there, and let's hope that he locks in. He wasn't happy with your selection there, Daisy.
I know, and that's why. This is the beauty of the game. Sometimes you just get concerned about what a side is doing, or sometimes you see some optimism.
I hope
It's always brightest after the darks.
Just quickly, when's your game on, Wal? So mine, so it's Sydney, Saturday 1:20 for Daisy.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm Saturday night.
Saturday night for you, and then I've got a Sunday. So it's well spread out. It's good. We've got a bit of time to just
Sunday 3:20
yeah.
in Bunbury, which makes it a 6:20 game for North Melbourne.
We got the Monday
Melbourne
off.
time.
You have a nice.
No, it's 3:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be 1:20 Perth time.
Okay.
Good
Clarification, because I was like a 6:20 game on a Sunday, you can go and shove it.
That's a perfect time slot for North Melbourne to get it done. And then let's looking forward to see what
that's
Plugger's
their
got.
favourite time slot, 3:30. Oh, boy.
Well, let's talk punishments quickly. Well, me and you have let down 2 football clubs, cost them pretty much $38,000 combined. What do you want to do?
I think we have to do something in Adelaide, Kit. I think that's the certainty.
Go down there and flip some snags.
We think that on the letter of the law, when we did this, we said flyers and down at Coles or on the streets in a full fog kit.
Well, that's what I had to do.
Because
Full
there's
fog.
2 fog kits, we're both
fog
going to
kits.
get a tattoo. I think this is what, and then
A real tattoo?
No.
No. They're just the
I'm a
fake
clean-
one.
What about the odd no bumper stickers on the Ferrari?
We'll get the fog special on the
A few
arm
trainer
there.
commands that have to go through.
And we've reached out to the footy club, and they're a bit slow, the old mate from Moorabbin,
Well,
but
that's
he's a
all
good
right.
man.
You
He works
snooze, you
late,
lose,
he
brother.
works night shift, but we can get down to footy clubs. But because we're all now one, we've all had one mare. The next time someone makes a mistake,
Oh, hang on. This wasn't disclosed before I picked my leg.
well,
I'm
you gotta-
confident.
Well, off the
confident.
line here. So the next one, then I think all 3 of us go down to that club if it's
Leave
nice
some
and
snacks.
close.
Yeah.
But if it's in the country, then obviously it's just that one person that heads down.
FaceTime.
Well, won't
I'll cook some virtual
hopefully it's
sausages.
Kahuna or something like that. But
So between now and next week, punishment will be played down at Church Street.
we're going to wait for an Adelaide game, I think, while we spoke about, because we want to get Adelaide. I think they've got Hawthorn next Friday. So their Friday night, they play Hawthorn. So I think we'll
That's
do
in
something.
Tassie, though.
Okay,
Come
start
to
again.
Tassie.
Well, we're thinking about doing it. We'll work it out.
Yeah,
but while
okay.
we're going to be in the full kits, we're sticking with the standard.
Stick with it. That's
Stick with
it.
it.
That's a
All
rule
right.
for a reason.
Well,
Unlucky.
there you go. The bets will be online. It's a big week. It'll be a big week for me if it goes down, and it's my fault because that's where I grew up. And boys,
That's it.
We have a competition online to give away 2 jerseys. Let's just remind everyone, social media, Jack
Mm-hmm.
Crisp, he's the record holder and most consecutive games, and he hasn't stopped and he won't be stopping. And then we also have a fully signed Melbourne jersey. So this is the King's birthday clash. You're going to get both opportunities for the jerseys, and we're going to put it up on social media. So look out for that. It won't be up till about Friday, and it'll be running till the end of the game. But make sure you keep your eyes peeled on that one. We're looking forward to giving away those 2 jerseys. I'll see you next week on the Aces AFL show. Thank you for all your support. Hit
On
that
you, Tommy.
subscribe button. See you same time next week right here on Aus American Aces. Cheers.
You need your bodyguard to be quick. And Gas is as quick as they come. Still, he's not as quick as a PointsBet app where I can place my same game multi before he's had a chance to even... We'll call that a draw.
It's never been quicker to piece together an AFL same-game multi with PointsBet.
Memories.
PointsBet. Built different. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.